All of the Peter F. Hamilton novels are Souls-like, roguelike games. So if you don't get it through in one setting, then you forget it all and you have to start over. Hello, everybody. I'm Cody Troyer.
I'm Brent Gaisford.
And we are the Hugonauts. This week, we are chatting about Great North Road by Peter F. Hamilton.
Yes, and please do not forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode on Altered Carbon by Richard K. Morgan, also of Netflix fame. Anyway, it's a fun one. Crazy technology. That'll be great. So yes, we will see you next time for that.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one's made a Peter F. Hamilton into a Netflix fame yet.
I think it's just hard to make 27-hour-long movies, you know?
So Brent, what does happen in Great North Road though?
Okay, so Great North Road is a space opera that takes place about 100 years in the future, where humanity has colonized the galaxy by inventing wormhole technology and setting up gateways that allow you to just walk through or drive through or fly through onto another planet. And our story is set in Newcastle in the UK, which has become one of the most important cities in the world because it is linked to the planet of St. Libra, a jungle planet where they have algae patties where they produce bio-oil and then pump that back to Earth to fulfill all of Earth's energy needs. And our story starts when a dead body washes up on the cold, frigid docks in Newcastle. And it's had all its futuristic tracking technology removed, but they can tell, just based on looking at it, that it's one of the Norths, the most important, powerful family / weird clone brotherhood in the world that controls the wormhole technology. And so one of them has been murdered, but they can't figure out which one. None of them are missing. And so it's up to Detective Sid Hurst of the Newcastle PD to crack the case. And so we start as a police procedural in space opera format. So that's really the setup here for Great North Road.
Yeah, that's the setup for Great North Road. If it sounds like a lot, it's barely anything compared to the actual novel. But before we get into it,
this episode is sponsored by The Pythagorean by Alexander Morpheigh, a mind-bending journey through ancient Greece and modern Athens.
When programmer Theo wakes up in ancient Greece, inhabiting the body of a suicidal youth, his life takes an unexpected turn. Guided by the enigmatic Pythagoras, he learns about philosophy, mysticism, and the true nature of reality. This isn't just a time travel story. It's a thought-provoking exploration of consciousness, with witty dialogue, surprising twists, and a blend of ancient wisdom and modern science that will leave you questioning everything.
Check out The Pythagorean at the link in the episode notes.
All right. So Great North Road, which, by the way, is about 37 hours on audiobook.
Cool, 944 pages. That's if you get the short edition. That's like the most compact version. Most of them are more than 1,000 pages.
One of the shorter Peter F. Hamiltons, and it's not a series. So
this is
the gentle way in.
We should phrase this. We're doing this because almost all of Peter F. Hamilton's stuff is this long and then a series of books. So we wanted to give you like a way to explore, should you read Peter F. Hamilton? This is a great book. We'll tell you more about the review in a second. And also you just have to read one, and so then you can decide if he's for you and you want to just spend the next 14 years of your life reading Peter F. Hamilton books.
Which you might. I gave this novel, Great North Road, a 4 out of 5. I thought that the length was justified by me enjoying it the whole time. I mean, if I'm going to read 3 10-hour books versus this, like I enjoyed that experience the same. And I really like the world he's created, fabulous and complex futurism and technology and lots of great characters. So
yeah, for sure. I feel very much the same way. 4 out of 5. I was entertained the whole time. I was excited to pick it back up and keep reading. There's not like the thing that keeps it a 4 and not a 5 for me is there's not, it's not a book I'm going to be thinking about for a long period of time, anything like that. There's no like big ideas here to make you think or things that feel super novel, but it's just a really well executed space opera. It's really entertaining. If you want a book that's fun and to enjoy yourself, you're going to get to do that for a long time. And that's nice.
Yeah. I'm not sure I agree with you totally on all that. Like, I think there's a lot of novel concepts and there's some stuff to think about, but there wasn't anything, there weren't any epiphanies for me. Like there is in like Contact or something like that, where you kind of, it maybe changes the way you start thinking about life in general forevermore. So I half agree with that. Okay, there are a lot of characters we follow in this novel. We talked about Sid Hurst, the detective. There's a lot of police procedural in this novel, and then we kind of branch into other characters. There's Angela Tremello, who is in prison for a murder from a long time ago.
Yeah, a murder where the victim, the wounds on the victim look just like this body that's washed up in Newcastle.
Yes.
But Angela is been in jail the whole time, and she definitely didn't do this new one. So what's the deal with that?
She also denied doing the first one.
Yeah.
So, where are we going with that? We have the Norths, as you alluded to, which is what one North long ago did genetic experiments to make 3 clones of himself, but the genes are so strong that they take over any sort of having the babies in the future. So whenever those 3 Norths, the clones, had babies, they became Norths too. So there's just 50 some hyper wealthy of the same guy running around the planet.
That's just the second generation. Yeah. But as they have kids, they get progressively dumber. So there's the 2 Norths. There's the 1 Norths, Augustine. Anyway, his name starts with an A.
Constantine.
Bertram and Constantine, ABC. Yeah. And then they name very helpfully. They coordinated and decided to give their kids all names that start with an A, B, or C, so you can keep track of them. Right. It was really helpful of them. Yeah. But anyway, so their kids, the 2 Norths, run their galactic empires and are really smart. The 3 Norths are pretty good and can still do jobs. And then the 4 Norths just collect inheritance and party at clubs. Right. Anyway, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them running around. Hence the confusion about this dead body. Who is it?
Yeah, which is just one of many interesting pieces of this world building and the world building in this novel. We also have Saul, who lives on St. Libra, and we kind of wonder how he got there. There's a lot of foreshadowing about his backstory.
Yeah, at the beginning, Peter F. Hamilton does a lot of stories, a lot of disconnected people, and often it's very unclear how they're going to connect to the plot till quite late in the end. So yeah, we just get all these stories of Saul hanging out in St. Libra in the beach town with his cute kids and his hot wife. And it's why do I keep reading about Saul? Anyway, you will find out eventually, but we're not going to tell you till after.
And Ravi and Vance. Vance is fairly early. The colonel in the Allied or United Defense Force, whatever it's called, of the planet, who's kind of in the Angela Tremello storyline. And it's funny we even say that because this book is so long that when you say at the beginning, you just mean at the beginning of their storyline, which could be a third of the way through the novel, 10 hours in. It still feels like the beginning because it's a new storyline, which is, I guess, part of why it breaks it up and it doesn't feel kind of as long as it is, because there's so many new characters and novelty, and you're getting introduced to all these things in it in a way where Hamilton takes the time to make you emotionally invested in these characters and make you care about the outcome still, instead of just zipping people in and out.
Yeah, and I thought in this book in particular, we'll talk more at the end in the recommended book section about other Peter F. Hamilton books. I feel this is not his most popular book in terms of on Goodreads readers numbers or whatever, but we're covering this one because we like it the most, so we think more people should read it, and part of that is the characters. They're really well done. In a lot of the other books, the characters are just foils for him to sort of give you some plot line that he feels like is important. These feel like real people where they're not perfect. You learn about their flaws, but they just feel like actual people, and that's doesn't always happen in science fiction, but it's great to see it here.
It doesn't often happen. I might go as far as to say he also, there's really good mystery. You're really on the hook for the larger mystery, who did the murder, and then many others introduced on the way, large to small, the mysteries of interpersonal relationships, and he tells the story in a way that kind of jumps around timelines. So you're jumping around timelines with all these different characters too. And it really builds up the anticipation. Very good. One of the better story reading plot experiences I've had of late.
Yeah. It's been a while since we did a space opera on the show, and I'm excited that we get to do this one where there's so many different plot lines and they all come together satisfyingly. It's like the thing you want out of a space opera. This is such a well done one.
Yeah.
Speaking
An
of, should we talk about the
to
technology?
wormhole opera. Yeah. Because the world building is also fascinating. Although you had one big issue with the biggest component, which you alluded to in the summary, is the biofuel from Saint Libra, and how the planet Earth transforms into a place that runs on biofuel because it's farmed on another planet.
Yeah, it's sort of framed
out.
as like the most important thing in the whole interstellar economy is this bio-oil fuel flow from Saint Libra, and it solved our climate change problems because we don't no longer have to burn fossil fuels. But in practice, this would actually be like global warming on steroids, because not only are you releasing a bunch of carbon into the atmosphere on Earth by burning hydrocarbons, you're doing it with carbon you took from another planet. It's not even old carbon from here, it's from another planet. So St. Libra would be getting cold and Earth would be getting really hot. Anyway, but so that problem aside, and they had built all this infrastructure, this extremely complicated infrastructure to pump bio oil around. Anyway, it turns out solar panels are really cheap, but Peter didn't see that coming 15 years ago.
I'm sure that there's we might have missed a hand wave to it in the novel. Yeah, it's a among the whole thing, we might have missed the and they figured out how to get the heat out with some other technology.
They just opened a wormhole into interstellar space to just
let some there's also, but in general, I loved the tech and the futurism of the novel. And I even liked the biofuel thing. I didn't even.
Oh, I did too.
Think about
you just take it as what it is. I'm not at all.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't a gripe for me in the novel. I just thought it was a funny solution to the problem.
Yeah. The other big one is how much of a surveillance state the world is now. When we see we're following Sid and all of his detective work, you just see the technology that makes it so easy to lock down any sort of crime. And of course it still occurs, but the technology they can use and the AI systems they have for recreating the city from scratch, even if it wasn't video recorded and stuff, are just they're insane. And I thought they were really cool, and obviously they're used in a benign way in this novel, but they were a little maybe scary too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, their ability to reconstruct the entire city literally from an event that happened months ago, and then view it was really interesting. And we're moving that way. There's more and more and more cameras on the street all the time, everywhere. What was interesting was that they have
mesh, right?
Yes.
It's done through a mesh. It's not necessarily cameras. It's like a mesh that covers everything that is kind of a camera.
Well, I'm saying our modern version of that, I'm saying is cameras that we're just putting everywhere.
Yeah.
It was interesting the way he used AI in it, because the AI could reconstruct the city, but it couldn't follow a car and continue to identify it, which is actually sort of the reverse actually of the way of our software is actually evolving. Software has no problem following a car through footage, but putting all the footage together would be really hard with today's technology. Anyway, it was just an interesting thing on how he saw future technology going and the way it actually did go. We ended up with the reverse thing.
The other minor portion of that I found really interesting was that people have to have crime insurance now. And even if you're a victim, if it the thing wasn't recorded right or whatever, you don't have the solid computer evidence, you should have crime insurance to make sure that you get compensated for being a victim of a crime or for perpetrating a crime. And this I thought was super believable, from the taken forward from the modern world. But the idea that it means the wealthy can get away with whatever. And if you are poor, middle class, you've got to be insured essentially to make sure that you don't get blamed for something wrongly or that you get reciprocity as a victim.
Yeah.
It's a little bleak.
Yeah, it is a little bleak. Yeah, and the taxes are so high that everyone evades taxes with
Yes.
like
Even that,
underhanded black market economic activity.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Everyone has a secondary account. Like even Sid the detective has his own like little shell corporation
yeah.
with
From
an
him
account in the
doing the
Balkans.
benign thing that we see him doing is actually. Oh, I guess we shouldn't talk about that pre-spoilers. It's not like a major plot point, but we don't find out till the end. All right, I'll stop.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
But it is
Sid's rich.
interesting
You don't
though.
know why at
Yeah.
the beginning. Yeah. Anyway.
Kind of. He's rich enough. They also obviously huge wormhole gate thing. Lots of
Peter F.
wormholes that
Hamilton's
are
a
open to
big
different.
wormhole gate
Yeah,
guy.
he's a wormhole guy for sure.
Yeah.
Which is I think a good paradigm for looking at interstellar travel. It seems like the least problematic or one of the least problematic compared to other options for getting to crazy alien planets quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's an enormous hand wave at physics and just the nature of time in our universe, but it does make for really compelling storytelling. So I like
Yeah, but it's almost less. I don't know. It feels like a step removed from being visceral, like traveling at light speed or faster than light speed for whatever reason, like feels less believable to me than wormholes. Like I like those more.
The one that made me this is a different Peter F. Hamilton book. I just read all of Pandora's Star and the follow-on Judas Unchained to like be able to talk about them in the recommended book section. But there's such a funny thing he did with wormholes in that he literally wrote the words, "Yeah, but you can't travel back in time because that would violate causality." And it's like, oh, Peter, you're already traveling faster than light, which violates causality. What are you talking about? You're going back in time by traveling instantaneously across the universe. Anyway, neither here nor there.
Yeah. I guess the last thing, world building thing we talk about, which is really mostly what this novel is, world building, good plot, is the Zanth swarm, one of the alien,
Ooh, the scary aliens. Yeah.
Yeah, an entity in this novel, and it's a, I don't know,
it's like a
pre-spoiler.
mineral. It's an evil mineral. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and it grows and it has no.
If it touches you, it turns
consciousness.
you into mineral too, and you can't stop it. If it touches you, you're dead.
Yeah, and there's like the weapons can't really even stop it either. It's like humanity's solve is like retreat, and it can grow across void space. So wherever it came from, it can just like build that mineral from planet to planet. I thought it was such a cool concept for alien, I guess, quote, life or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's like not intelligent,
Zanth.
but it's unstoppable is a really interesting combination. Yeah.
Yes. Not intelligent, unstoppable, totally alien, and also like not biological life technically, like the way we think of it.
Ice Nine from Cat's Cradle as I think about it, actually. It's like, it's like Ice Nine, but for everything, not just water.
Yeah. So I loved the Zanth swarm and those scenes and thinking about it. And it's just, this novel's just packed with stuff like that. Lots of cool futures, aliens, fun time travel, hanging out on St. Libra in the tropics of St. Libra.
Oh, yeah. Wait, can I say one thing that I thought was so cool about St. Libra?
Yes,
okay, so St. Libra is a huge jungle planet. It's like a super Earth, so it's enormous. And then it has these amazing rings that are super close to the planet. They just recently got formed. And so they're like right above the atmosphere. So even though it's the future and they have futuristic technology, they can't have any satellites there because the rings are right there. And so every time any character goes to St. Libra for the first time, they're just mesmerized by the sky, which was such a cool thing to think about and envision. Just these enormous rings like right over your head. Yeah, I just thought it was so fun.
Yeah, the great settings, and they all come to life really powerfully. Like I felt like I was, walking in this world. And so Hamilton did a good job of evoking his settings too.
Yeah. All right. Well, shall we stop truncating all our plot line
yeah,
talk?
sure. Our plot line / world building. That's what the novel is. So I guess, let's do other books, other recommended books. But first,
we want to give another quick shout out to our episode sponsor, The Pythagorean by Alexander Morpheigh. The Pythagorean is a time travel story that explores philosophy, mysticism, and the true nature of reality, and is available at the link in the episode notes.
All right. So other PFH for recommended books. I loved the Void trilogy, And I also like the Salvation series, both by Hamilton. Salvation series maybe a little closer to what we're doing with Great North Road. Lots of wormholes, portals, more aliens, and more contact with aliens. It's a much more central part of the story, and it's compelling. Like Great North Road, and the Void trilogy is a really I don't want to spoil it, so I just say it's a very interesting genre blend that I really enjoyed. It's particularly the first book is really strong.
Yeah,
So
that's the
those are
next
my
Peter F. Hamilton
PFHs.
I'm going to read. I'm very excited about it. The way you talk about it makes it seem really fun.
Yeah. You definitely should. I mean, again, whatever, three very long books in a row.
For sure. Yeah, but I do need a break because I just read Pandora's Star and then the sequel Judas Unchained, which are his most famous books or most popular, I guess. And Pandora's Star I was really liking quite a lot. But I got pretty frustrated at the end because it turns out that those are not actually, it's not like a series of books really. It's one enormous book cut in half. And I just wasn't ready for that. So I'm telling you
it's just
that you need, it's like 90 hours.
expectation setting.
Yeah, it's a 90-hour single story. And there's no resolution of any kind at the end of the first book. It's just one long story. And I really liked a lot of it. The central conflict is like the biggest possible scale of central conflict, and it's really compelling. And still, by 2/3 of the way through it, I just wanted to be done. It's just so super duper long, and the characters are flatter than in Great North Road, which for that long a book with that many characters, that was tough. So anyway, I wanted it to end early, but I did love the big conflict. So if you want a 90-hour space opera, like you should go read Pandora's Star and Judas Unchained. You'll love it. If that sounds like a crazy commitment to you, then you're not ready.
And all of the Peter F. Hamilton novels are like Souls-like, roguelike games. So if you don't get it through in one setting, then you forget it all and you have to start over. So just remember that.
That's hilarious. That's really great.
What is your what's your next rec?
Oh, yes. Okay. So if you are hankering for another great space opera that is not written by Peter F. Hamilton, you should read the Culture series by Ian Banks. It's another, written in the last 20, 30 years here, big interstellar set of novels. Unlike Peter F. Hamilton books, they're all relatively short and standalone. They're all set in the same universe, but it's not one interconnected plot. The central conceit is the culture, which is this super advanced futuristic society of humanity / AI that's the most powerful force in the galaxy, and they're like, quote unquote, the good guys. And they're just really, some of them are really interesting. I really loved The Player of Games, which is the second book he wrote. I liked The Use of Weapons, which is the third. These are the two that you hear about the most, people saying they like the most. And then Consider Phlebas, which is the first one he wrote. I actually actively do not recommend. So if you feel like another space opera, go check out Player of Games by Ian M. Banks, and then decide if you want to keep going with more culture stuff.
Or space opera related, The House of Suns by Alastair Reynolds, which is another great space opera. More spacey than Great North Road, but still fun. The big action and mystery and conflict of a far future, even farther than a Great North Road.
Yeah, and the thing I love about House of Suns is that it's an enormous galaxy-wide space opera, but it's also hard science. There's nothing in that book that betrays our current laws of physics. Like all their travel is like near light speed travel. They can accelerate their starships super fast, and because of relativity, that lets you cross the whole galaxy personally. But a huge amount of time passes, and anyway, it's a wild blend of space opera and hard sci-fi. Really cool.
Yeah. So should we talk about some stuff that happens later in Great North Road?
Yeah. If you do not want to hear about the end of Great North Road, turn aside now, because we're going to talk about the spoilers in the rest of the book. Otherwise, in 3, 2, 1, here we go. So Angela gets let out of jail because it becomes clear she can't have done the first murder because this murder was done the same way. And she always said the last murder was done by an alien on St. Libra. And so it's not, nobody quite believes her yet, but they decide they better go check it out, and they're going to let her out to go help them find this alien. They get to St. Libra, and a lot of stuff happens, but it turns out that she is correct. There is an alien on St. Libra. In fact, the entire planet of St. Libra is one organism that we have been destroying by building these algae patties. And so it has created avatars that can look like humans. And so it sent an avatar in the form of one of the Norths, one of the most powerful Norths, to Newcastle to kill, and it killed the other North that it was replacing, so it could step into his shoes and try to destroy the bio-oil that way. And then there's another avatar of it on St. Libra that is hunting Angela and her compatriots who are looking for it. And then there's kind of a I remembered. There's a Deus Ex Machina a little bit at the end with Constantine saving the day. But anyway, yeah, that's the resolution. And then they agree to stop doing the bio-oil thing, and the alien agrees to stop trying to kill all of them. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Sid figures out who murdered and whatever and participates.
Yeah, Sid is part of this
ways.
reveal. He figures out the Newcastle part of the mystery. Angela figures out the St. Libra part of the mystery. And between the two of them, we get the closing of the loop.
I'd say that's the best way to. You did a fabulous job at truncating the rest of that novel into a summary and just sticking to the important points. There's a bunch of other stuff that happens. There's a ton of backstory between Saul. It turns out he and Angela were together, and now Saul lives even though Saul lives with a new family on St. Libra. And there's really interesting backstory there. And it also turns out that Angela and Saul had a baby together, and that's why Angela went to jail for killing the North supposedly forever ago.
Money it was like a genetic procedure they needed to afford, right? To save their daughter. Yeah,
on New Jerusalem, the planet. Yeah. And then it turns out the daughter is part of the St. Libra expedition. So Angela and her and Saul get to see each other again. So there's a lot of like big emotional moments and like backstories coming together and things happening. It's just, it comes together. The large idea kind of falls flat in my opinion, but all of the relationship stories, which maybe is more important from like a storytelling perspective and the emotional appeal of the novel coming together, is really satisfying.
I agree with that. Yeah, it didn't feel like there was he tries to kind of throw in like a moral of the story at the very end to make it seem like it was a big important story. And the moral of the story, quote unquote, is like humans are good guys. It just didn't, I don't know. In my opinion, he shouldn't even have tried.
Yeah.
It just felt like trite and weird at the end.
Yeah, I think he could have just ended it. Had the denouement where Sid moves to a new planet that they let them go to because the humans leave St. Libra.
We agree to leave St. Libra alone and let it be its own thing, basically.
Yeah. And I think that is fine. Like we could just say we leave it alone, we move along, whatever. There's so much other cool stuff. I don't even know.
Can we talk about the organism on St. Libra messing with a star? So this jungle planet turns into an ice planet because the organism manipulates the sun to turn the sun cold. The star, sorry, not our sun on Earth, the star of its solar
St.
system.
Libra, right?
And so then Angela and her expedition are in this like crazy ice planet, and it feels like they're being hunted by the Thing. It's like very reminiscent of the 1980s Thing movie.
Yes.
And it's super exciting and fun. And they're finding out the forest is alive as it slowly kills them. It's awesome.
Yeah, that turn happens. It's really because they're on this intensely tropical planet. It's like so tropical, and it has like monsoons every day that are extra extreme monsoons. So you're really feeling the weather. He does a good job of that. And they're prepared for that type of planet. And then it turns on a dime into like the Arctic. And there's still that much precipitation, but it's all snow. So everything's getting buried in snow. There's all these survival scenes of them buried in snow and how they're working through that. And I just love that. I went on a family trip to Mexico in January. And for like a week, when I was doing my packing list beforehand, my subconscious kept telling me, like, pack a parka. And I was like, okay, when I got around to it, I was like, wait, why? I don't need a parka. What am I? And it's because I just read Great North Road, and it was so visceral, that transition from the tropical environment to the wintry environment that like, I know my brain was like, you better be prepared. That seemed awful what they had to deal with. And they could like 3D print everything. They could fabricate everything. So
that's great.
Anyways, he did a good job with the weather there.
Yeah.
there's also just so many cool moments and details all along. I loved Last Mile, which is the kind of the economy around in Newcastle on the Earth side that approaches the road that approaches the wormhole to St. Libra. And it's all just shops that are like stuff to outfit for St. Libra or sell your stuff from St. Libra. Cause also that's where they send most criminals now. Almost all criminals just get sent to St. Libra with like a bedroll and shit, and they say you can make your own life.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of it's like the only place you can be outside of the very long arm of the state is some parts of St. Libra, right? They have like true free countries.
Yeah, it's like the libertarian frontier almost. It's a very interesting, as you said, alluded to, countries, like how with the wormholes, these different places have built. There's New Florida through a wormhole where a bunch of Americans go to make a new life for themselves, and then that gets attacked by the Zanth swarm in an awesome scene.
I loved the Zanth swarm attack on New Florida. Yeah, and you get to see it twice.
Twice, yeah.
Yeah, once from the point of view of Angela. Well, that happens later, I guess. So the first time you hear about it is from the point of view of a fighter pilot who's trying to defend the New Florida from the Zanth swarm. And basically the way we defended against it is nuke the chunks of Zanth in orbit.
Right, but you can't defend against it. So it's only to like get people evacuated long enough. So they're just trying to like knock the tentacles of Zanth down enough so everyone can leave.
Yeah, and it was just a really well done action scene. Yeah, it was so fun.
And then later, it's Angela and Saul, who you found out worked together in the past, evacuating with their daughter during that.
Yeah, their daughter is like having a medical emergency. So they steal an ambulance that they're trying to drive through a natural disaster. It's an awesome scene. Yeah.
Yeah. And they end up in like real world Miami. Like, oh, man. Powerful. Like so many, this book's just so many good scenes. They have the dark weapons that Angela has where she like eats some pills, and when she wants to, she can like get claws that grow out of her, and she has to dissolve them.
Yeah, and then they just turn back into like your body's waste products, so you can hide them afterward. Yeah, that was cool. Sweet yeah, that was why she was the only. Yeah. Oh God, we also the reason she was so she survived the alien attack in the first place because she had those dark weapons. She had those because she was doing something wrong on St. Libra. She was stealing this money from the North.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many layers to this, and the layers all really peel back really well. Yeah, that was awesome.
Because another layer, because she was born on a planet that's only for 100+ billionaires called New Monaco, where she was super wealthy, and her dad was, as you put it, like a Wall Street bets bro.
Yeah, her dad's supposed to be one of the richest people in the universe, and he loses all his money because he was like leveraged to the absolute hilt, and on one trade, and then it went wrong, and he lost hundreds of billions of dollars. And anyway, it was ridiculous, but it was funny and great.
Yeah, it's cool, little collusion. But anyway, she was wealthy, so she has to then get enough money for the new life she's built. I mean, the book justifies its length, I guess is what I'm saying. It is fun. It's really interesting. There's so much more we could talk about, but we don't need to. If you made it this far, you probably already read it. Tell us, let us know in the comments, or come on Discord and talk to us about your favorite parts or the weirdest like piece of futurism that you liked or didn't like. There's plenty to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And let us know about your other favorite space operas too. We tried to put together our little list, but space opera is a fun genre, and I'm sure we're missing some good ones. So yeah, let us know what you love.
All right, man. See you next time.
Great to see you.